The point blank is necessary. It's not always going to feel exciting. That's why discipline is required to show up regardless of emotion. This past week I had no sales, no money for product, and things were slow. This was a test for my patience. Just work and work and work. I've come to be more patient with my life events. I used to feel like I need to be doing something every moment of the day, especially how far I am from my goals. I came to an understanding of just being effective as possible. Just put in the basics for the smoothie. No need to add a million ingredients. Ingredients being the activities and the smoothie being my day. I came to realize what I have changed about myself and what I now want to change to improve. I'm more cautious where my energy is spent. My focus is constant. I'm more calm and understanding. My habits are more clean. I'm doing more by doing less. My love for our Creator has grown stronger. I used to be an obsessed over having a partner to share these new understandings with. I asked myself and leveled with myself, Justin, if I had a partner follow me around for one full day, would it make them feel at home or even benefit them? The truth is, my life is still in the process of becoming helpful and responsible. Don't get me wrong, my life is truly a blessing. It's just going to take time. All I do is get up, reflect, get to work, get home, eat, nap, back to work, come home, eat, work, practice, reflect, and at last, rest. Seems really boring, but the work adds up. This took me about 3 months to get more specified and efficient. Simplified and efficient. Why not sooner? I believe the distractions took me from my original path when I came back from UTSA. If you are going to college, the only real benefits you can actually benefit from is connecting with others, building communities, analyzing communication, and different ethnicities. Personally, I feel like skipping college gives me more time to focus on my empire and allows me to pick and choose what's best for my situation. I want to work on my empire/life for the rest of my life, not somebody else's. What good is money when you have little to no use, little to none to use it for your empire? Right now, if you are young like me, try to manage your time and energy where you constantly are working towards your goals and freedom. I have 6 priorities in my day: God, job, powerlifting, digital project, videography, and health. 1 out of 6 is there to help all level up. That is my job. Now, what is it that I want to change as of now? 12/20/24 to level up. As of right now, I want to reflect more on paper nearly daily rather than weekly. I'd love my focus to grow stronger, understanding that your priorities are the only things that get you closer to results rather than the noise can definitely filter people and negative things that don't align with your future empire.
Alrighty, so we owe my buddy Ace a good amount of money, but today we're actually going to start paying him back. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a call.
I know it may be hard for you to accept or even to understand. In my heart, I believe that though I am a sinner, I have been saved. And I believe there is something beyond this rock, and this air, and this water around us. Something more that is waiting for us. I have been baptized twice, once in water, once in flame. I will carry the fire of the Holy Spirit inside until I stand before my Lord for judgment. God be with you. There is much to be skeptical of in this world, so it no longer surprises me to learn how many people don't really believe in anything. What's the point? For many of us, the road is a difficult one, but the path is always there for us to follow, no matter how many times we may fall. The good news is that we can help you find your way back. Naturally, some days are harder than others, but I must try. We all have doubts. The light of the mind alone cannot burn away all darkness. Think on it and look in your heart. It will be for the best. When the walls come tumbling down and you lose everything you have, you always have family.
Yeah. Alright, so I haven't talked at all since episode 4 started, but y'all got a bunch of B-roll. Besides that, about 8 Red Bulls later and a couple Monsters, I've built I want to say 90% of a company, and I'm looking forward to hiring people. Now, right now we are currently on our way to visit a very, very special guest that I want to bring on to this series because he's falls directly in between the lines of self-development and also when it comes to growing your spirituality. I really want to ask him some certain questions that will help myself and as well as offer some great advice to you guys. Alrighty, so we're gonna hit a workout with him, ask some questions, and I'll let you all guys enjoy. Yo, what is up, guys? Justin here, and this is the guest I was talking about for this episode, episode 4, for the Ability Series. Nick, you want to introduce yourself? Go for it, brother.
Hello, this is Nick Teran. I'm glad to be here. So grateful to be surrounded by these great guys. Excited to converse with you guys, get a little bit deeper, talk about some important things. So I'm ready when you are. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to ask Nick a series of questions here for the sake of my own self, as well as any information that you guys can take in for, what do you call it? Just take in general for use. Alrighty, so the first question I want to ask you, Nick, is what are a few ways you grew self-peace?
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting topic. I think peace is definitely something that a lot of people chase, or they think it's a feeling that they need to acquire. I think by a shift in perspective and understanding that peace isn't a feeling, it's a state of being, that's when you'll start to really understand what true peace is. It's not a sense of like, I need this so I can have peace. It's more what's lacking within myself or within my mental headspace that is making me feel like I'm not at peace, or something that's, is there anything that's stopping me from feeling that sense of, I'm okay, everything's okay, there's nothing going on around me. A lot of people are very stuck inside of their heads on the future and the past and everything else going on in this world, that it kind of takes away from that. I think we live in a world that has definitely tried to shift our focus away from our own selves to the world and to everything around us, giving us these responsibilities, different types of things to worry about in the world, that it's taken away so much from our presentness within ourselves that we don't stop to ask ourselves, what is lacking within me, or what is it that I feel like I need to have that peace and really get to the root of it. So I think my first step towards having that sense of at peace is really asking myself, what is it that I feel I'm lacking? Because in a sense, we're not lacking anything. We live, we eat, we have everything that we need. But it's our sense of desire that I think causes that anxiety, making us feel like we don't have that peace, making us feel like we're not where we need to be. It was really taking a step back and understanding, hey, like I have everything I need. I'm perfectly okay where I'm at. I have food. I have food to eat. I have clothes on my back. I have a roof to sleep under. What is it that I feel like I need to have that sense of peace? Nothing. I mean, of course, you really got to dig deep to find that and to understand yourself in that way, which is the true work that you need to do to find that peace. Not chasing anything or not buying anything that's going to give you that peace. You can't buy your peace. It's all from within. And yeah, I think that's more or less a general sense of how I found my peace. Of course, getting into the God, and that's a whole another spiritual type of talk. I'm sure we'll talk about it here in a second. But first and foremost, the sense of peace is not a feeling. It's not a feeling, it's a state of being. It's knowing that you are perfectly okay where you're at. You're exactly where you need to be, and being present and understanding that the opportunities will come to you as long as you continue to do what you need to do. So, yeah. I'll put it back to you. Yeah.
Of course. So, as for me, my piece, like what I want to share is, based off of what I got here, is just basically being honest with yourself and having that understanding that you have what you need. Be grateful, grateful and honest to yourself, and that's where I personally believe how I find my peace in a sense as well. Now on to the next question. Getting a little excited right now.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
It's amazing to talk about this, dude. Tell me more about the ability. Before we move on, I want to know more about the series that we're doing, because I myself, I'm not super on the same page of where you're at on your YouTube journey, so I'm curious to know.
Okay, so my ability series is pretty much just showing people every single thing about my journey when it comes to meeting my goals, whether it's becoming a world champion, a multimillionaire, starting a business, showing them all the raw truths and all the hard things that people don't show out there, and still showing them that we're capable of, how do I say it, pushing through all that and still just showing up whenever I don't feel like it, showing them all the raw truths that nobody shows, or that not everybody can be there to experience, but to give them that, how do I say that, heads up, like, hey, this is required. This is required to get to where you need to be at. There's so much things that you must go through that isn't really
popular out there. So pretty much just, how do I say it? You're able to do things that, regardless of anything, you're able to do things. And I'll give them reasons why they're able to.
Right.
So pretty much that's my ability series. I want to show these people. I want to document the journey till now, all the way till I'm at those goals.
That's amazing.
I don't care how long this series takes. I'm gonna get there.
Amen.
So,
Amen. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
now, the second, or not? Is it the second? Yeah, it's the second question. Okay. So, how long has your self-developing journey been since you went all in? Like when you just like, all right, drop everything. Let's actually like just focus. Like when you officially started, how did that happen? What was it that caused it? Like was it a traumatic event or something like that? Like what was it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting, very loaded question. I think in order to develop that sense of like, okay, like something needs to change, something drastic has to happen. Of course, we as humans are wired that way, is to where when we're comfortable with something, we're going to stay there. Like that's where we naturally want to be, whether it be in our home, in our bed, in a relationship, and anywhere. If you're comfortable somewhere, change is difficult. Change is hard to acquire. So to even be able to look at where you're at and acknowledge that you do need to take that step of like, let me go all into what I need to do, into my goals, into my dreams. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of commitment. I think that when something drastic that happened, that I'll share a little testimony, was when I'm sure you guys already know, when I got injured, I found my sense of identity in the gym. I really based my sense of identity in the gym because I was an influencer. I felt like I had so much pressure, all these eyes on me. So basing my sense of identity in the gym, that's where I wanted to be. That was my comfortable spot. I felt like that was where my ego felt like it could grow, and I was comfortable there. So of course I wasn't aware of the fact that, hey, this isn't going to get me any closer to my dreams or goals in the real world. But in my head, that's where I felt comfortable. That's where I felt like I had to be. And then, of course, God works in mysterious ways. I had to go through a very traumatic injury, herniated two of my lowest L4 and L5 discs, causing me sciatic pain, causing me to not even be able to sit down. Really, yeah, like pain from the moment I woke up to the time I went to bed. And that was a very, very traumatic experience that I say triggered that like sense of purpose in me, and finding that and feeling like I really need to go all in and dig deep and find that sense of purpose and what I need to do and what I want to do in this world. And that's how I became born again into this new version of myself. That's when I first prayed. That's when I first got close to God. That's when I first found my foundation. There's a saying that goes, sometimes God will let you hit rock bottom so you can find out that He is the rock at the bottom. Yeah. And I definitely feel like that's what happened to me, because I was breaking down crying, man. Like I was so scared and so hurt because I felt like if the gym got taken away from me, finding out that the gym did not equal Nick was my biggest point of realization. This was probably about 2020, end of 2021, beginning of 2022, so about 3 years ago. That was when I really first started my spiritual journey and finding out like, hey, I am so much more than the gym. I am so much more than my body, my physical body. There's so much more to the world and to this earth than just me. I am not at the top of the food chain. We are all a part of an ecosystem, and we are all a part of a community, and we all fit in. Each of us have gifts, each of us have abilities, and it's our job to find out, dig deep, and really find that. So to answer that question, I definitely feel like around 2021, 2022 was when the gym got completely taken away from me, relationships got taken away from me. I felt like I had nothing, but God really just gave me a clean slate to build off of, and that's where I started journaling, I started praying, I started meditating, I started really asking myself the deep, purposeful questions of like, why am I here? What am I doing? Where do I fit in this world? And it's so amazing, bro, that once you take that turn and you really like become, it's almost like you're becoming conscious for a second time, because of course when you're a kid you don't realize, oh okay, it's whatever, you're growing up. But that was like that second moment of like consciousness that like hit me, and it was like, man, and it's crazy because ever since then I didn't need surgery. I didn't have to, go through all the things that the doctor said I was going to have to go through for my back. Yeah. I'm sitting down here having this conversation with you. I'm hitting legs every other day. Like I'm healed, and it's a blessing. and I feel like it was put in my life for me to share, because I know there's a lot of people that go through the same thing. People go to the gym to let out their emotions, and that's perfectly normal. That's perfectly okay. But at a certain point, you have to understand that that's not who you are. You are a part of a bigger world, bro, and there's so much more to it than just yourself. So, yeah, to answer the question, 2021 or 2022 was around when I first made that commitment into self-development, into really trying to find out who I truly was. And greatest decision in my life, dude. Taking the time to really understand who you are as a person is the greatest thing that you can ever do. No matter what age you're at, no matter where you're at in your life, ask yourself, is this where I need to be? Am I doing what I need to do? It doesn't hurt to ask yourself those questions. It's okay to be aware of that. It's okay to be conscious of that decision. So yeah, that's probably around the time that I first made that turn, that full 360 into really trying to dig deep into myself rather than looking for my satisfaction in the world. So I'll hand it back to you. Yeah,
everything's in there, man.
Yeah.
Similar situation happened to me, but I didn't get injured. Matter of fact, my world championship got slipped from my fingers, missed the flight, end of it. I was like, wow, so what am I going to do now? And that's when my entire reality check hit, and I was like, all right, Justin, what do you want to do? Forget everyone around you, clean slate. Who do you look for? God was there.
Yeah,
God was there, bro. God was there. It literally, to this day, talking about this past week, I don't know what it's called, man. You being here, recent events happening, dude. Life has been amazing ever since I've actually started literally talking to God like He's my friend, in my consciousness, out in public. It's amazing, dude. Having a relationship with Him, dude, it's insane.
Beautiful, man. That's amazing to hear.
Now, the next question I wanted to ask was, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Man, okay. Another heavy loaded question, but man, so 18, it was 2020, COVID year. I was very, very lost, very, very broken. And I didn't know that at the time, of course, but never did I ever think that I would have taken these extra steps to find where I'm at now. Like if I went back to my 18-year-old self now and had a conversation, you wouldn't even be able to recognize the difference between two of us, because I was in my own world. Like I said, I think it's just the world that we live in as well. Like we were raised and conditioned to not really focus on ourselves or our emotions or our feelings that make us who we are. So if I was to go back to my 18-year-old self, I would definitely tell him, hey bro, really stop and think about what you're doing. Don't make dumb decisions, dig deep and try to find out why you are the way you are. I don't know how aware anybody else might be of this, but you are who you are because of your inner child, because of your childhood, the way you were raised. Anything that you have gone through growing up has molded you into the person you are today, whether that be good, whether that be bad. All the behaviors and all the actions that you make and take can all be traced back to your childhood. If you really dig deep and try to understand that, that's what's getting you closer to understanding who you truly are in your heart. And it's crazy, man. I never took the time to do that until around 2021, 2022, when I first became, close to God, and I really took that initiative to dig deep. But, if you did that at a younger age, of course, you'll be a lot more knowledgeable of your purpose. You'll be a lot more aware, a lot more conscious of what you're doing and how it affects other people. There have been a lot of people that I've heard in my life, a lot of things that I regret from when I was around that age, but there's nothing I can do right now other than, learn from it. But if I could go back and learn and do it again, that's definitely where I would start, is digging deep and really just trying to ask myself, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Those are the things that school doesn't teach you, that you have to kind of figure out on your own. Yeah, I came out of high school thinking I need to go to college, I need to get a 4-year degree, I need to get a job. Those were my priorities. It wasn't digging deep. It wasn't finding my true purpose. It was, how am I going to make money? How am I going to survive? Which is perfectly okay. That's the world we live in. But at the same time, it's a healthy balance between understanding that's not everything. There's so much more to this life than what your parents make it seem to be. Of course, it could be different for everybody, but for me and myself, it was definitely something that I was not made aware of. It was definitely something that I wish I would have known about. It would have saved me a lot of trouble, but God puts you through the things that you go through in life to teach you and to mold you into the person He needs you to be. So everything's on His timing, of course, but if there's anything that you can implement, it's that. It's really digging deep and trying to understand, who am I? Why am I here? What is my sense of purpose? And it might be different for everybody, but for me, that led to God. That led to my religion. That led to me understanding and trying to get a grasp of all that. It's a whole thing that we can go into. But all in all, 18-year-old self, don't be dumb. Dig deep. Ask yourself, what are you here for? Ask yourself the hard questions. Get through the traumas that you're holding on to. Your emotions are so important. They don't control you, but they are very important. I think the mistake that I made was I allowed my emotions to control me, and that is where the trauma kicks in or comes from, is because traumatic experiences from our childhood, it's obviously not the easiest thing to talk about, but the more you learn, the more you heal, and the more you understand, the easier it gets to talk about, and the easier you're able to understand and express those feelings, the easier you're able to heal and become the person that you need to be, because ultimately the only thing holding you back is yourself. And when you have those unhealthy thoughts, unhealthy feelings, unhealthy traumas built up in your head, it can cause a sickness, dude. You can become so sick physically because of the emotional things that you're holding in, because of the anger, any type of sadness or dark energy that you're holding onto inside can cause sickness. It can cause cancer, dude. Like there's so many studies and it's very holistic. Like I said, we live in a world where like medicine is king. Like nobody's gonna go and tell somebody who's sick, like, think about your feelings, or think about how you might, like, all the stress building up inside you that might cause some sickness that way. But we're all about medicine. What can I do to get the quick fix? What can I do to heal instantly? Like, I want the magic formula, but the magic formula is digging within yourself, healing within yourself. Yeah, like there's no other. I mean, of course, medicine is necessary, but I mean, it shouldn't be the first answer. And then, yeah, what was the top of the question again? We got so far off track.
Yeah, it's okay.
Was that
That's cool, man. That's great. Much more confident.
Yeah.
It's about your 18-year-old self.
Yeah, 18-year-old self. Yeah, that's just the holistic side of life is definitely something that not a lot of people are aware of. Healing from the inside, being able to naturally treat those causes of life and naturally be able to go about life without worrying about money, without worrying about finances. You really need to dig deep first before you make any major decision of your life. I know nobody has their life figured out at 18 years old, bro. Nobody, absolutely nobody. So committing yourself to a degree right out of high school at 18 years old and making that like the pathway for the rest of your life, just for me personally was not it. I myself needed a little bit more time to bloom and to really dig deep and find myself. I think that's just something that we need to bring to the world as a change in general. I'm glad, I mean, even shooting this video, dude, bringing awareness to the fact that, that your life does not revolve around you. Your life revolves around, it should revolve around the community and around people around you. We are made to uplift and help each other out. And in order to do that, we really need to lose that selfish ego. And to lose that selfish ego, it's about digging deep, about asking yourself those hard questions and things that you don't think about when you're 18 years old, but something that I would definitely go back and tell myself to think about. So we'll end that question there.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. That's pretty solid.
A lot about that one.
Wow, I'm pretty sure these people would appreciate it, man.
Of course,
what was it? There's over like 50 people who actually watch and sit.
Let's go.
So
let's go.
That's a lot of people. If I'm being honest, that's it's a crowd, man.
Yeah, I'll go off on every question, man.
I know a few. What is it? Probably a few months down the line, maybe even years in general. As long as videos are up, people actually will be able to feed off of that.
Man, it's gonna be. And I hope whoever's watching can at least learn something from this. I mean, these are my personal experience and my personal testimonies, which of course are very personal to me, but the general principles can be applied and taken into consideration for everybody. So,
okay,
definitely.
Let's get into it. Well, it's a pretty solid question. So, what's your why behind training?
Ooh, I was excited for this one. This one I was
Go
excited
for it.
for. Okay, so I'll be real, and I'm going to share a little bit of like more of my personal testimony, and this is again something that I've worked through a lot and practiced healing through. So I can talk about it freely, is my trauma. I think a big reason why I went straight to the gym, as soon as I graduated, as soon as football season ended for my senior year, I went straight to the gym. I got a gym membership at TrueFit, and I started working out. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the exact reason was at the very beginning. But as I started to go to the gym more and more and grow my ego and grow like I look good. I'm jacked. I can go in there and throw weights around and slam them around. And it was feeding my ego more and more every single time I went to the gym. And then that's when it started to turn into an unhealthy habit for me, because when I was younger, my parents had a lot of arguments. My father was an alcoholic. It was very, very tough on not just me, my mom, my brothers, my family. It caused a lot of trauma, dude, just straight trauma, man. It was something that was so hard for me to talk about at the beginning too, because nobody wants to talk about their trauma. It's very personal. It's very personal. A lot of people, I'm not going to say I had it the worst, dude. I know that there's so many kids out there that grow up on the streets, dude. So I'm not going to say I had it the worst, but definitely in my life was very traumatic for me to grow up in that environment of feeling. I'm the youngest of three brothers. So for me as a kid, I think what it was is that I felt helpless. I felt like I wasn't strong or big enough or old enough to help, to do something to stop whatever was going on within my family. So I think that sense of not feeling like I was strong enough or not feeling like I was big enough was what ultimately fed that ego. Is I would go to the gym and I felt big, I felt strong. It's like I need to keep feeling this way. And like I don't know if I've ever even said this publicly anywhere, even on my personal social medias, is that I would get myself in a mindset of anger and hate, dude. It sounds so harsh, but before I would walk into Crunch or wherever I was at, I would take I would get myself real in my head. I would get myself so flustered, so emotional. I would walk in with my hat like this and a mask. That was around COVID era. So that was real demon time era. That was very that was the origin story of me, man. So, but that was when my ego was at an all-time high, dude. My world revolved around myself and my feelings and my emotions. So I would go in there and I would get myself so angry about my dad, and I had so much anger built up towards my dad that's what I would use to fuel my workouts. And talking about it now, it sounds crazy. It sounds like why would I ever even allow myself to do that? But that was the reality, bro. Is I felt like the gym was my only escape, my only outlet of letting those feelings out. And that's what led to me, getting injured. That's what led to me, having to go through that. But originally, I would say my why was an unhealthy why, which is why I'm expressing it. So hopefully people can learn from this, is not to be this way. But originally my why was because I felt like I needed to be bigger. I felt like I needed to be the biggest guy in the room, especially bigger than my dad. That was one thing, is of course I have a lot of love for my dad, but having to still be around him and still love him as my dad was very difficult for me, because I had a lot of emotion, a lot of trauma kind of stored up inside. But originally my why, it was that. It was because I felt like I needed to be bigger. I needed to be the strongest one. I needed to be able to stand up to my dad one day. That's how I thought. That was my mindset. So although very unhealthy, it's a great learning experience, because if you're going through the same thing, or if you feel like you have trauma or anything that you have built up that's an unhealthy habit, that attacking that head on is the first step towards doing a full 360 and really chasing who you truly are, because you're no longer holding on to grudges. You're no longer holding on to emotions from the past. I'll share a little story of how I got over that. It took a very, very uncomfortable conversation with me, my dad, and my oldest brother. I had so much anxiety built up, and this was around when I got injured too. So this is where it was my climax of yeah. So I was injured. I couldn't lift. I had all this emotion and trauma built up with my dad and my family. It was all that was the peak of the worst part of my life. I felt like everything was so overwhelming. I couldn't work out. I had so much trauma built up. It was eating me alive. And then one day it just snapped. I prayed and I asked God I got to the point where I was like, God, if this is the pain that I'm going to feel for the rest of my life, I don't want to feel this way, take my life away if this is what it's going to mean. But that was the moment that God really worked in my life and allowed me I called my brother. I said, bro, like, we've been talking about this for a while. I'm going to pick you up. We're going to go talk with Dad, and we're going to have this conversation, because this is what needs to happen in order for something to change. So I picked him up. We get to my dad's, so, I mean, for me personally, I mean, anytime you're sitting face to face with, a father figure or a parent or anybody trying to talk about how you feel, it's a very, like, you don't know how that's going to go. So especially with my dad, who I always felt like I had to be, like, strong, I had to be, like, hard. My dad was in the military, so he's very, like, kept me very disciplined growing up, but it was never about emotions. It was never about what you went through. It was never about, like, we never discussed the past. So I just was around my dad all the time, just not really acknowledging how I felt or what I knew happened. My dad never apologized. He never tried to talk to me about that. But getting to talk to him face to face, a lot of tears, a lot of uncomfortable, the most uncomfortable conversation I've ever had in my life. I will say that confidently. I left my dad's house feeling like I had a weight taken off of my shoulders. I felt like that was when I truly let go of the grudge and the anger that had been holding on to me for so long, and really, like, unchained me to be able to chase my true self and who I really was, and find my identity in Christ, and find my identity in not just worldly things, but in what my purpose truly is. And so that was like I would say now that's my why. Now I have a much healthier why. I obviously have a social media platform, which used to be for worldly, very gym influencer type of thing, which now, while yes, I still do post my physique and my body, but I look at it now as more of a blessing and a tool, rather than like something to hang over people. Because of course Instagram is like the algorithm. You have to be jacked, you have to be aesthetic, to get your page out there. So that's what I try to aim for, is a healthy balance of a much healthier why. So now, of course, fitness is still a very big thing on social media. Keeping up with my physique is definitely something that's a lot more of a healthier thing, rather than just trying to inflate my ego so big. So I think now my why would just be more to be able to keep up with a healthy lifestyle, so I can still push my social media, I can still try to grow that platform, I can still use my physique to my advantage by, of course, I don't mean it in a boastful way, but it's what gets the engagement. People see a cool picture with a guy that has a cool physique, clicks on it, and then it's all about God in the caption. It's all about God in the post. So that's kind of more of my mentality now, is trying to direct people not towards me or towards look at me, but like, hey, like, there's a greater purpose, there's a greater reason for us to be here, and that's ultimately I don't know, I haven't talked about it yet, but the Divine Order, my clothing brand.
Yes, absolutely.
So when I started the Divine Order was when I faced all that trauma, was after I faced all the fears that I had inside, was after I really started to develop a personal sense of growth, of personal spiritual growth as well. It made me so inspired that I made my own clothing brand. I said, if I'm going to be influencing anything, it's going to be something that's going to benefit God's kingdom and benefit me as well. Why not start a clothing brand? If I can do it for another company, why not take the initial steps of making a website, designing my clothes, getting them printed, and doing it on my own? It's been an amazing experience, and that's kind of where I've found more of my sense of purpose now, is being able to spread that message to people and being able to just be the light in the world, bro, to be able to just leave positivity everywhere you go, and to leave people, make the interaction a good interaction, and want, like, even when I go to the gym now, dude, it's like I always want to, like, be the light in somebody's day. I know people go to the gym with like a very mean mug, like, they're in the zone or whatever. They don't want to have a conversation, but bro, telling somebody, hey bro, you look big, bro, you're looking good, bro, it'll put a smile on their face, it'll make an impact in their day, and they'll remember that. And let alone a conversation or a prayer, dude. I've been praying over people at gyms, man, and it's not the correct place. I mean, not that it's not the correct place, it's not the most common place for fellowship or for conversation about God, but that's exactly why that's where we need to be working. And so now I would say my why is a lot more oriented towards just being positive light to the world, bro, being representing, Christ, of course, first and foremost, and then myself as well. I want to be seen as like a positive figure in the world. I don't want to be some guy who's just a douche and goes and lifts weights and is just a huge egoed guy. So My why now is definitely a lot healthier, a lot more grounded into reality, not just like, oh, I'm so angry at my dad, I want to lift weights. Like, so this shift there, I hope that can represent of like the type of shift in your life that can make, of just simply like asking yourself, what is my purpose? What is my reasoning? Why do I feel the way I do? What makes me feel this way? What makes me feel that way? Really getting to know yourself, journaling, meditating, praying, all of the above, man. Things that'll help you get a better sense of yourself, of your sense of purpose, and your sense of why you do the things you do, is going to lead you towards so much growth and so much positive outcome in any sense. So I'll hand the mic back to you on that question.
Alrighty. Well, I want to circle back around the part of uncomfortableness. I may sound crazy or whatever, but I gave this idea to my brother the other day. I was like, honestly, for me, I'm probably going to do this next, literally, a list of things that make me super uncomfortable, and I'm going to conquer all of them. I don't care how long it takes me, but I know after I've done with that list, I'm going to be a way better person after that. Absolutely. And I'm going to completely be grown after that. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. Finding comfort in the uncomfortable is a big thing, and part of like finding yourself.
Growing. Yeah. Absolutely, man. The last and final question would be, what helps you understand forgiveness? And I think this is going to be leading back to similar topic.
Yeah. Leading back to exactly what I was talking about. I mean, forgiving my dad for the things that he's done has definitely been like my biggest, I would say, act of forgiveness. I mean, your mom is obviously the most precious woman in your life. Like, you would never want to see your mom go through anything. So to see your mom go through something caused by another man, it's really, really difficult to want to forgive. Like, if somebody like did anything to your mom, or even verbally, let alone physically. So you could imagine the amount of hatred and the amount of anger that was built up inside over the span of 10 plus years of my childhood growing up into when I finally faced that emotion, finally faced that trauma. Forgiveness is a very difficult topic. It's something that not everybody has the capability of doing, because I mean, your emotions are your emotions. You know, everybody's different. But when I had that sit down and I was able to talk to my dad and ask him why things happened the way they did, or why did that have to happen, and I got a response that I was looking for answers, but what I got was an understanding. My dad is a human. It's his first time living too, the same as me. He's made mistakes that he's not proud of, and just being able to understand that sense of like, hey, like, you know, I've never seen my dad cry, but to see your dad cry and apologize is so moving, and it grounded me and made me feel like, you know, there's so much worse out there in the world. There's so much evil out there in the world. Like, why hold on to that? Why make it worse by letting it build up inside of you? Because me having all those emotions and feeling the way I did wasn't affecting my dad. It wasn't making him feel any type of way. You know, that was all in me. It was all in my head. So you're not only hurting yourself, you know, you're hurting yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, by holding on to anything, any negative. I mean, it doesn't have to be between your family. It could be for anybody. You know, if for anybody, for anything they've done in the past, holding on to anything is I mean, it's weighing you down. Literally, you're holding on to something that's going to weigh you down. So that was kind of like the mindset that I had to have when it came to forgiveness, and to talk to my dad, and to walk out of there feeling lighter emotionally, lighter physically. Like, I felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders, because I was able to have that understanding and forgiveness. While of course it never excuses what they did, but that first step of forgiveness and saying I forgive you and I understand, is the first step towards healing, the first step towards change, the first step towards growth in all aspects. Man, yeah, and after forgiving my dad, dude, yeah, like I said, my life has been nothing but blessings, and I feel like I've come such a long way since then. It was a while ago that we had that conversation, but I mean, now me and my dad are closer than ever. I'm able to, anytime, you know, something happens, I'm able to actually find that sense of a bond with me and my dad now, because I'm not holding on to any negative emotion. I'm not having that grudge against him. And that brings me to another point of, something that I didn't know about, which my dad told me, is like that he was put through the same thing when he was a kid. So this is like a generational thing, something that was passed on, and passed on. So you have to be the chain breaker. You have to be the one that makes the change in the family. You have to be the one that stops that pattern of, I could very easily have never talked to my dad, let that anger, let it consume me, grown up, become an alcoholic, got with a woman that, I just had kids with, and made that trauma on my kids and let that pass on to generation. But we are the change in the world, bro. We have to be that positive change and say, this stops here. This is not going to go on to anybody. I would never, now more than ever, dude, I would never, ever, of course, because I was traumatized by it, but ever, even yelling at a woman, or even, raising your voice, or cussing, or let alone hitting, bro, it's so it traumatized me so much, in a point where I would never want to put that upon anybody, no matter if I even had kids, no matter if it was just to somebody else. I am an advocate for peace, bro, and if we can communicate and talk something, I would so much rather do that than, of course, some people don't have such a grip on their emotions that way where they can control themselves, but again, that leads back to being able to ask yourself, why do I feel these emotions? What's making me feel so angry that I need to hit somebody, or that it's crazy, man. But that understanding that, and knowing that when you stop that cycle, it leads to nothing but peace. And that circles all the way back to the first question, is how do you have that sense of peace? It's by not holding on to any anger, not holding on to any grudges, understanding that you are right where you need to be. Of course, if you're holding on to something, maybe this is your sign to go and forgive that person, to let it go, to really grow from that and learn from that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing about forgiveness is being able to have that understanding and empathy for somebody else's perspective, being able to step out of my consciousness into your consciousness, and to understand exactly how you might have felt is a skill, an attribute that cannot be taught in school. It cannot be taught by a teacher or anything. It's something that you really have to learn on your own. And of course, through finding Christ, that was another thing. Of course, they forgive your enemies. That's a really big thing. Is there is nobody in this world that is your enemy. I mean, I know it sounds very cliche. I'll share a little Bible verse, Ephesians 6:12. For we do not battle with flesh and blood, but against the spiritual powers of darkness in this world. So I would never have another person that is an enemy of me, that I have to see as an enemy. It is the evil and the sin and the dark powers of this world that is causing me to feel that way. No matter what situation. I know, some people are very extreme with it, and they're like, okay, well, what if somebody killed your brother, or what if somebody killed, Of course, that's something that's whoa, yeah, it's an extreme sense of oh wow, that's okay, that's stepping out a little bit. But it's those types of extremes that you have to ask yourself and say, would I be able to have forgiveness or empathy in that position? Of course not. We're human. You're gonna be angry. You're gonna be angry to the point to where you will probably want to do something about it. But man, those are the tests and those are the trials. Hopefully none of you ever have to go through that. But hopefully, I know none of us have to ever go through that. Yeah, but it's just an example of how forgiveness, it can go a long way. If I had let any type of emotion cause me to act a certain way because I wasn't wanting to forgive, I would have much rather reacted. So much worse could have happened in my life. There's been so many instances where if I chose to act on my emotion, if I chose to act on the way I felt, who knows what could be. I mean, this goes for anybody. I mean, there are a lot of impulses. It's a part of human nature, bro. And one thing that I've learned lately, or more lately than ever, is that bringing it back to God, when you believe in God and you believe in there's a higher sense of purpose for yourself in this world, you no longer are bound to your human nature way of thinking. You now have access to a divine nature, divine perspective of being able to see the world from a different point of view, from being able to see anything from a different point of view. Because of course, your human nature is all emotion. It's all reactive. It's all based on what are my immediate emotions, and that's how I'm going to act on it. And when you have access to a divine nature, divine essence, and you believe in there's a higher reasoning, a higher purpose behind things, you access a divine nature where you start to think, okay, maybe you step out of your human nature a little bit and you're like, maybe I don't have to react that way. You start to become proactive instead of reactive. So it's a little, so instead of trying to look at things from like a human perspective, look at it from like a divine spiritual perspective of what is this trying to teach me? You know, what is the deeper meaning behind these things going on in my life? And that is, if there's one thing that you can take from the video, it's that, like to see things from a more spiritual perspective, to take a step out of your own emotions, your own thoughts, because of course that's what we're consumed in every day, and being able to see things from a different, higher level of being perspective. Because at the end of the day, we are all creations of God. That goes back to nobody is my enemy. Why would God want me to fight against somebody else who He created, who He loves as well? Who am I to hold a grudge against somebody else when God has had grace on my life and given me so many blessings? It's that sense of like, I am not. I know everybody likes to say it, I'm not the main character. And like, of course, I'm the main character of my life, yes, but in a spiritual aspect, like, I am a servant of God, and I am here to spread His love and His kingdom and His peace and His prosperity to those that I can. Of course, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make my mistakes. I'm going to mess up. But that's exactly why I need God, is because He's the one that's going to help me keep straight on my path. It's so easy to get discouraged when you don't have that sense of, like, purpose, and that don't have that sense of, like, you need to get
Focus in a sense.
Yeah. So like if I didn't have any, I like to say Christ is the foundation, because it's like a rock that you build your house on, and it's mentioned in the Bible as well. If you build your house on something that's weak, you know, it's gonna crumble so quickly. But if you build your house on a foundation of God and the knowledge of the Bible and things that He teaches you, you cannot be shaken. Of course, yes, things will happen, you know. Yes, of course. You're going to cry, you're going to feel, you know, angry from time to time, but always having that firm foundation of this is greater than me. You will last. You are okay, and your life goes on, and there's so much more that God has for you in store. But I'll break it back to you for that one, man. Yeah.
Well, honestly, Nick, I just wanted to say it was amazing, dude. All the information you dropped, the lore of you, dude. There's some things I didn't even know about you, man. I'm really I really appreciate you sharing this with me personally, and as well as on camera, man. That is something that some people can't do right now. I hope you guys can in the future. You know, be honest with yourselves. This is the reason why I wanted to bring on Nick, because, like, how do I say it? He's got this amazing perspective on when it comes to spirituality and as well as overall, how do I say it? Character development, and it is super important because, well, everyone's themselves in a sense. I don't know how to say that. Yourself is most important in a sense because you have control of yourself and your decisions. And honestly, once again, thank you, Nick. I really appreciate you for coming on, man.
It's such a blessing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and hope you guys have a blessed day when you're seeing this. Like I said, you guys, I don't know if y'all follow me on Instagram. It's just nick.teran. Message me if you guys have any questions or need any type of spiritual advice or anything at all. I'm here to serve you guys. I'm here to serve my community. I want to see people grow. I want to see people develop in this personal way. That's why I was super excited to be on the video. Super glad for you guys having me and talking with me and chatting with me and allowing me to share my story. I know this is probably going to be news for the whole world right here, because I've never taken the time to do this on my own, which, you know, this is the first step. It's growth for me as well, because this encourages me to want to do it on my own and for my own page, because it's a story that can help maybe spark that in somebody else's life of digging deep and, you know, hey, maybe I am holding on to something. So it's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I hope that this sparked some type of thought or change in you guys' life. And yeah, I appreciate it. Thank
Absolutely,
you so much.
man. Appreciate you, Nick, once again. And thank you guys for watching. Truly appreciate you all, too, for watching. And support me on this channel. Give Nick a follow on Instagram. And should be the end of it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Alrighty, Nick. Once again, man, I appreciate that.
Damn, bro.
You're fucking awesome,
That was awesome,
man.
bro.